Okay, I think I'm gonna officially call this sculpture done. Last night when I posted that video, I realized the forearms were just a bit too long, did some remeasuring, and I took off about somewhere between 1/4 inch and 1/2 inch out of the forearms, pretty substantial for her size. And I realized that I kind of messed up a few of the proportion sizes while building this sculpture. So when I built the frame, I used something called cranial units, which usually involves just a sphere. It's the sphere that you're going to use to make the head. So this is 1 inch, so that's 1 cranial unit. But the head is actually a head unit. So depending on the artist, the book, the video, whatever, they use head units and some use cranial units. The landmarks, I should say, of like where the chest is, where the rib cage is, where the pelvis is, uses head units for the landmarks. So it's difficult because I'm using, again, cranial units to build the skeleton frame, and then I use head units for the landmarks of the outer flesh, what you actually see, like the ribs, the back, the arms, all of that. So I was using a mismatch of cranial units and head units to measure like the length of the arm, the length of the leg. So I learned through this sculpture that my proportions were being mismatched and mixed. So a lot of that is fixed now, and I think that attributed to why my torsos were always relatively short, and generally my feminine sculptures were quite wide at the shoulders. So that fixed that. Now this base is kind of cool. Came up with this idea at the last minute, just to kind of twist this piece of metal around her leg that holds her in place and then sweeps down, and I try to match it, the little sweep on her leg, that sort of aesthetic here to the base, and it's threaded at the bottom so you can actually unthread this base. It's pretty cool. Also, this time around with the hair, I did a bit more than my first sculpture with hair, and this is a little more full, maybe a little too much, but actually looks really good in person. I realized that when I cut this, you actually do need to trim the hair in a way like you're actually cutting and styling real hair. You know, this section down here needs to be shorter because it was bulked out too much in the back, so it didn't have this like nice sweep that I wanted. So I needed to actually trim the hair in a way like stylists actually would. As I always say, the hands are one of the hardest parts. I feel like they're pretty good. They're very subtle, expressive, and they match her, so I think that works out, especially now that the forearms are fixed. That it's just so much better, because yesterday it was just too long. You know, I wanted very slender arms, which are a challenge to me, so I kept them long, and I was like, oh no, I think the forearms just need more mass. That's why they look so skinny and long. But when I remeasured, I realized, nope, it's simply too long. So I had to take it and cut it off and re-weld it and fix it. So it is now fixed. I think it's much better. The base here, it is a little springy, but after, you know, a few minutes, it settles to fully still. So I really quite like this. I mean, it really levitates nicely, and she feels like she's free floating. Now check out these tiny hands. I made too many. I made too many left hands. I actually made a total of 3. So I screwed up the first one, which is this one. I screwed up that. So I remade it, which is now that one. So that second one was correct. And then I accidentally made a 3rd left hand. So I realized at this point, I was like, nope, that's a left hand. Why am I doing that? So plenty of mistakes went into this. Getting better every time I make one though. And let's see. Oh yeah, so you notice how the hands are quite gray compared to her. Well, I finish sculptures with either this wax or a wax of my own creation, and it really darkens and moistens the black, and the steel, and it makes it appear black. So it's kind of cool. I really like that finish, and it really contrasts with the twist that goes around her leg.